Hello and welcome to The Boy and the Bear. Following Rangers' 1-1 draw with Celtic, I am joined as always by Patrick and Scott. And let's just dive straight into it, boys. Paddy, I'm going to start with you. It was billed as a bit of a dead rubber. I don't think these fixtures ever can be, but your overall thoughts on the game, please, mate.
It was billed as a dead rubber by some Celtic fans. Others, like myself, it really mattered. I definitely could not bear the thought of losing to Barry Ferguson again. Of all the managers that Brendan Rodgers has seen off, if he had walked away with a 0% record against Barry and his Bears, I think it would have just been unfathomable, really. I was hoping we'd go in there and put on a show and sort of undo the damage of the Parkhead game. Wasn't quite to be, but it's the ultimate. At least we didn't get beat. I think with Maeda not squaring that ball right at the end, it felt a little bit more painful in the aftermath. But Ibrox should be a tough place for us to go. Those games should be difficult. It was difficult.
Did Rangers make it difficult though, or did you make it difficult for yourselves?
Yeah, I guess we usually start these episodes with a compliment, and my compliment to Rangers this week would be yet again, getting the upper hand of the fast start. I fully expected this would finally be the derby where we came out really, really fast. Statement of intent. It just didn't happen. Rangers hit the bar in the first minute, and I'm just going, why is this happening again? And then, the one positive for us to take out the game was there was definitely a response in the second half, and I feel as if anyone was going to win it towards the end, it would have been Celtic.
Yeah, Scotty, can you take anything from that game whatsoever? Any surprises that came out of it, or is it much the same?
I think it's much the same, mate. I really do. I think it's just had a chance to go and win 3 Old Firm games in a row, which we've not done for a number of years since Gerrard. So it was a chance to do that, but at the same time, you're kind of, as a Rangers fan, you're just wanting the season over and done with. It's like one step closer to the season ending. I agree with Pat that these games are never meaningless, even though it's a dead rubber. You still want to win. As I mentioned in my preview video, you still want to win. You still want to go out and beat your rivals. But I think a draw is probably a fair result when we really lack quality at times. And I think Celtic, they came back into the second half. So it's one of those, it's probably a game of two halves, right?
Yeah, and have you managed to muster up a compliment for Patrick?
Yes. Congratulations on stopping 3 in a row. No, that's my compliment. So.
I was really hoping that from nowhere Celtic were going to give a guard of honour, to be honest with you, and that would have been your compliment this week. But
did you see? So I think my favourite moment of Patter from the game was when Rangers walked out and played Simply the Best. All the Celtic fans sang along with it. For the first time in our history, Simply the Best comes on and Celtic are giving it like all that. I was like, do you know what, Phil? Surely even Rangers fans
just to rub salt into the wounds, like they should have been canning that. Are they going to get rid of that song, Scotty? Serious note?
I saw a post on Follow asking for the removal of Tina Turner. Oh. Do you get rid of Simply the Best now, Scott?
You have to get rid of it, Scott. It's a bit, you made it up in the first place, but
dude, we're just going to park it. That's what we're going to do. We're going to park it. It's going to go in the Spotify reserve list, and then we're going to have a nice new song, USA, something by Bruce Springsteen, something American. I know she's American also, but yeah,
can't wait for that in 20 years.
The beard will be great, the hair will be gone, and it'll just be me left crying into a corner by myself when Celtic go on to win. Aberdeen might win a title with it.
Aberdeen might win a cup, mate. Might win a cup this season, no one. Probably the last remaining game of any significance this season. That the Aberdeen chairman, I think they originally got the quota of 16,000, and the Aberdeen chairman's come out and said, make the quota 20,000, and if we don't sell the 4,000 additional tickets, we'll pay for it out of our own pocket. They sold it immediately. I think there's this hysteria, well, you Old Firm fans a little bit, to be honest with you, we must have the bigger seats, we must do this and do that. Surely Hampden should always be split 50-50, and then you can make a decision closer to time if you take those tickets and reallocate them to the different clubs.
I think it's a conversation. It's definitely a conversation to be had, I think. I agree that, you have to, especially some of the bigger teams in the league, you've got to give them their fair crack at the whip of trying to sell their...
Aberdeen are, maybe another debate, we're opening up a can of worms here. Aberdeen probably third biggest club in Scotland, looking for nods of heads. No, shite bags.
I'm already hated in Aberdeen anyway, so it's fine. So.
See, there's an argument for
Surely
Hearts.
the third. Okay. Well, I'll stick my neck in line. Surely the third biggest club, the only other club that won a serious European trophy in Scotland, are capable of selling half a national stadium for a cup
Oh,
final.
I
Surely.
don't have a problem ever with Hampden being a 50-50 split, like as long as the other team sells it. Where I do have an issue is, like say Aberdeen, I don't know what say they got 20,000 tickets, right, and they sold 18,000 of them. I would sooner give those 2,000 tickets to people in Glasgow that wouldn't ordinarily be able to afford the game, or like even like primary school kids, or anyone. I'd rather see a full stadium than gaps with no one sitting there, because that just defeats the whole purpose of inclusivity and getting our young people interested in football again, or even opening it up to people who ordinarily wouldn't be able to go. Empty stadiums is a massive bugbear of mine, and it's particularly when it's a showpiece occasion. Even when it's two of the smaller teams that play in these cup finals, I know like we've had was it an Inverness Falkirk final or something? I still think you should be able to shift tickets for that, but we've taken plenty of heat on TikTok this week. I'm happy to take some more. But unless you're Gretna, where your allocation is like bigger than your town's population, I just think 25,000 tickets for a club like Aberdeen or Hearts or Hibs. Even
I think they do. I could be wrong here. I think they do 20 and then 10,000 corporate hospitality, or maybe I don't know what there shouldn't be neutrals at cup finals, but I think there's 20,000.
Do you know what? Like fair play to Dave Cormack. Is it Dave Cormack? I can't remember who it used to be him. Is it? If it's fair play to him for saying I'll pay for it out of my own pocket, then at least it means if they don't sell it all, they can give them away. I think that's a really, really shrewd move, and I'm happy for it, provided that the game doesn't come and there's rows and rows of empty seats. I don't really care how they fill it.
I just think at the start it should always be a 50-50 allocation, and there should be dates set in stone. So like maybe 4 weeks before the final, whenever it is, that's when you say, right, how many tickets have you sold? Right, you're going to lose these 2,000 unsold tickets, and we'll allocate them to Celtic. But to do it straight away makes it a home game for Celtic, like in Glasgow. Like, do you know what I mean? It just seems absolutely baffling to me. And I know we're going to touch on that a little bit more in a future podcast, but yeah. So 1-1 for both teams at the weekend. Lose. How do you boys sum it up? Any insights into next season? Any players that stand out, good or bad? Pat, I mean, you must be worried about the fact that Jota's out for 6 to 9 months.
Yeah, it's bad news for Jota. It's the old cliche, but I think he'll feel like a new signing when he comes back.
He can turn up for the third time for one game.
He's got so much quality that he's going to be missed, but it'll be good to have him back. And he's the kind of person and player it'd be really hard to just go out and buy another version of Jota during the summer. But I think we now do obviously have to invest in a winger.
Do you have to invest in? Sorry, Pat. Do you have to invest in two? Are you quite concerned about Kuhn's form? James Forrest, another year older.
The Forest show continues. Yeah, I'm concerned about Kuhn's drop off a little bit. I think he was injured, or he was certainly unavailable for the game yesterday, which should have been a perfect chance for him to sort of show what he's all about. And it's a shame he didn't get that opportunity, but he's had a season of two halves, really, minus the goal against Bayern. He just started so electrically, set ridiculously high standards for himself, but Celtic's Player of the Year awards were also Sunday night, and there wasn't even Kuhn was nominated, but there wasn't even a discussion to be had. It was Maida all day long. So that's the standards Kuhn needs to reach to do it for a whole season. So yeah, I think we probably do need I certainly wouldn't turn down the chance to get two wingers at the club. Who impressed me? Sinisalo. I thought he seems a really, really good backup to Schmeichel at the very least. I wouldn't even have any problems with him taking the number 1 jersey next season. And it'll be interesting to see how Rodgers balances having those two clearly very good keepers at the club. Mad to think Scott Bain's still there.
Mental.
Paulo Bernardo looked good. I think when he came on, he's a guy that probably needs more game time. And I was quite impressed with Johnny Kenny's tiny cameo. I thought he had a lot of pace behind him, a lot of desire. I'd love to see him get a wee bit more game time in the as the season draws to a close. Let's see what he's all about and give some of these players a chance to properly assess them before the summer. But Celtic definitely need a striker, a couple of wingers, and another centre midfielder.
You're happy to see Ida at the club again next season?
Yeah, Ida scored 18 goals this season. He's not everyone's cup of tea for some reason, but I think it's because he's
Dessers vibes.
I don't. I don't know. I don't know why some people aren't having him. He scored some great goals. I think he offers us a presence up front. I think there's still a lot of work to be done, but he's scored goals at literally every level this season. He scored 2 against Aston Villa at Villa Park. I think when the service is right, he's shown that he's got it. I think he's coming for a bit of harsh criticism. I loved Kyogo like more than most Celtic strikers since Larsson, to be honest. I think he was a touch of class, and I think maybe he does a victim of how popular Kyogo was. But they're two very, very different players. But
Two very different characters as well.
I'd love to see someone coming in and challenging.
Yep, absolutely. Scotty, Rangers players that played on Sunday, that you'd be happy to see in blue next season, mate? Count them on one hand, or maybe
I think
am I being a
yeah.
bit harsh?
No, I think you're spot on, mate. I think there's only a few. One for definite is Nico Raskin. I think I really hope he gets tied down to a new contract. Otherwise, it's going to be a case of you need to sell him this summer because his stock is very high.
You wouldn't, but if you're Nico Raskin, Scotty, I might be speaking out of turn, but you wouldn't sign a contract to see what happens.
No, that's very true. I take your point in that one. I just think for Rangers, it's a priority for a new board. Get him tied down or get him sold because he's an asset. We cannot afford.
You can't do a Kent
Morelos
again.
Morelos again. You're right. You said that last week, and I totally agree that he's another one of these assets that his ceiling's going to go a bit higher than what it is now. I think he can play at a higher league.
Has he been capped for Belgium? Did he come on
played,
yet? So there you go.
He's played twice now for him, and he got a standing ovation in his last one coming off. And but like for his your main first start in a European, I think that's pretty impressive. When you look at the riches of the Belgian midfield, I think that's look. I'm clinging on to dear life. That's all I've got, right?
So standing ovation in the museum.
See, sometimes, right, you like when I'm listening to you and watching you on the screen, and sometimes you say things, and I absolutely guarantee that if I make eye contact with Pat, he's laughing, and that was one of them. But no, anyone else? Anyone else?
See me caught my eye laughing, but yeah, I would say there's two others. I would think it's just a shame that Liam Balogun had a great game. It's just a shame that he isn't. We can't get somebody. He's not 10 years younger. We need to try and find somebody who is his type of defender 10 years younger, because you've got somebody who can as a starting quality centre back. He's absolutely brilliant, and it's just a shame that he is obviously slowing down. He cannot play the same amount of games, but we need to recruit better. I think he would be one I would be keeping around just for what he brings to the squad. Like almost like what we should have done with Scott Arfield again, kept him on for another year.
Yeah,
just what the presence that they bring, would be ideal. I think Liam Kelly, I don't think he did himself any harm at all. I think I wouldn't be going rushing into the market for a backup goalkeeper.
See, the thing with that though is, you boys have said that a couple of times for players. Oh, they've done themselves no harm. They've they were fine. So, do you know what I mean? They're just not going to be players that you're going to win leagues with as main players. I mean, he's a Rangers number 2 keeper, isn't he?
Yeah, but I think you've got to look at it as an overall squad game.
Yeah, subjectively, I understand that. Yeah,
can he do a job when called upon? Maybe not for the entirety of the season.
Well, and again, we've had this conversation multiple times. To me, you're describing Cyril Dessers. Can he do a job when called upon? Yeah.
But I've said this to you boys before. I think if Cyril Dessers is third choice striker, given his age, right, what he brings, I think I would be, and I think a lot of level-headed Rangers fans would be quite happy for him to be third choice, right? But he's also on too much money to be third choice. This is the conundrum, and it's now become a point where can you actually rely on him in big important games when you've only got a handful of chances? He needs a bag full of chances just to stick one in, right? But in key games, you take him or Iggerman, and you're asking who I would prefer to lead the line in a crucial game. I'm going to say Iggerman because he's a better finisher. Okay, he's maybe not scored as many, but he takes fewer chances to score a goal. Do you mean? So I think that's the thing that goes against the Rodessers. Scotty Arfield made a good point, commentary a few weeks ago on it, saying that his miss, it was like perfect opportunity, played right through, did all the hard work to get the space, open it up. I can't remember the team, but it's like opened it up and then he just fluffed it. And then you watch him against Celtic and he takes an absolute brilliant touch and scores. Do you mean? So it's like that is him, unfortunately,
So who in that Rangers team that played on Sunday would you keep for next season?
There's not very many. Not very many. Nico Raskin. I'm very good at this whole political way of getting around an answer, innit? Nico Raskin, John Suter, Yefty, Diamande, Rice. If we can get Cherney, that would be magic.
So not much of a rebuild needed at all then.
No, so you needed more than one hand.
No, that's 5, mate. 6,
Aye.
maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's only a few, but
Yeah.
I
I
think
don't think Cherney looks like he wants to come back based on his reaction yesterday against Celtic.
I don't. I'm not looking into that. I think that's just a passionate player who
Yeah.
realised he was playing terrible, wanted to stay on, wanted to play. I've got no issue with that.
Anything to add from a Celtic perspective, Pat? I mean, anything that you watched at the weekend, you're like, oh, for Rangers, have got a player there next season?
Nah.
Good.
Nico Raskin.
Scotty boy, your coming piece for Pat, please, mate.
Yeah, no problem. So my coming piece this week is Pat. Obviously, you've mentioned him a few times. He's been mentioned in the podcast over the last number of years. Do you think James Forrest will continue at Celtic past this summer, or do you think he will move on to like a championship or a newly promoted club in the Scottish Premier League?
Nah, James is here for the rest of his career. There's no doubt in my mind that he's going to be a one-club man. I think when he's not playing for Celtic, he'll call it. I can quite confidently say that. Do I want James Forrest to stay? Yeah, I think he's done the same as he did last season. He's, come in towards the end of the season where we've really needed some energy and some life back in the team, and he's provided it. He's still not got his goal, and you can tell he's desperate for his goal. Would I have wanted him to have taken a penalty if he'd got on at the derby? Absolutely not. But I hope that Jamesy gets his goal this season. I think that would be 16 seasons in a row he's scored in, which is going back to 2009, which is it's kind of crazy. Like any club that would get rid of their most decorated player ever would have serious issues. I think Forrest, for his loyalty, deserves another
It's
contract.
not getting rid of him, though, is it? It's just seen out his contract.
Yeah,
not
for sure.
getting rid of him.
No, and I don't think Celtic would even get rid of him or would want him to leave. And I'm happy for Forrest to.
Is he, to your knowledge, Pat, is he doing any coaching badges, or is he involved in the wider community in anything from an ambassador's
I don't think
role?
I've ever heard James Forrest speak, so
Nah.
I'd be surprised if he was going into coaching. I don't know. But do you want a player like that in the dressing room? 100%. Of course you do. I think it's kind of, I'm not comparing them as players for a second, but when you look at Bayern, that German core like Neuer and Müller, these.
It's not like you to compare Celtic players to players of that stature, though.
Just told you, I'm not comparing them as players. But see having a group of players that have come through the academy and get it, and they understand the mentality. That's what Forrest and McGregor have been for Celtic, and with Kieran Tierney coming back in the summer as well, I think it's really important you keep that core group. I'm not comparing them ability wise. Müller is a World Cup winner.
I'll put a JBL. It'll be JBL speaker in a black bag going to training or something.
To get injured singing and dancing to Tina Turner. You're a coming piece for Scott, please, Pat.
I was going to ask Scott if he thinks Barry Ferguson will get his first home win before the season ends.
Thanks for that.
Is
Pat.
that 7? Is it 7 home games without a victory?
Barry Ferguson has not won a home game.
First time in Rangers history.
Rangers history, we've not won a home game in about 7 attempts, which is absolutely bonkers. And I did mention this to you guys separately throughout the week that that's a horrible stat, and I think it just proves that this Rangers team, despite having some assets, and I'll say some, it's probably one of the worst Rangers teams to have ever been put on a park. And I think it's systemic of years of failed transfers, not having the right transfer strategy, and just this amalgamated mess of a team that doesn't really fit one particular style, and we're just trying to shoehorn players like Yanis Hadji's a 10, and we're trying to play him as a winger. Do you mean Diamande is a box to box, but we're playing him as a holding midfield? It's just, these are the things. We've not really replaced our fullbacks. We've not really had a contingency plan for James Tavernier, despite him being old. Redvan as a left back, we spent a lot of money.
This could have been a yes or a no.
I know. Sorry, I've had a lot to say. It's a lot of pent up issues. Right?
What are his last home games? Let's look at this subjectively.
Rangers have to play Aberdeen
Excellent news. Hearts.
Hearts
aren't in the top 6. Is it
and
Hibs?
Dundee United at home. They both need the points.
So Dundee United and Aberdeen, aye.
I mean, you'd rather it was bigger games because you don't show up for other ones anyway. So
yeah,
you'd
it's
rather
quite big
Aberdeen at
games.
home.
Aye, I think it's big games. Like, I mean,
So do you think Barry's going to get a home win before his contract ends?
I hate you both so much right now. I think so. Yeah, I believe he'll get one. I think he might get Aberdeen, and then it'll probably be a draw against Dundee United, and then we'll lose to Hibs. That's probably how it's going to go. And then it's just going to be, I'm going to just chuck the laptop in the bin. This is going to be the last of me and this podcast. Thank you.
We go again.
We'll go again. Well, we might get Barry Ferguson's looking for a new job, so we might get him to replace you. Imagine.
I know. Can you sign my top?
Bob Malcolm on the edits. You have been listening to a special episode of The Boy and the Bear Debrief. Please email us your questions or complaints at theboyandthebear@gmail.com, and please do follow us on social media. We are on Instagram and TikTok at BoyBearPod, and these podcasts are on YouTube as well at The Boy the Bear Podcast.